Hello, my Sparkle sisters. Happy June 19th. Oh my goodness, we just got done with Father's Day, and I'm so excited that y'all are hanging out with us. I'm excited to just share some stories, the lessons that I learned from my dad. A lot of people ask me, kind of, who had the biggest influence in your life? And I always, just think about, I was talking to my sister today about this, and why we are as grounded as we are. And so much of that came from our dad. And I just want to share you some stories, some life stories, because I do believe that the choices that we make today are impacting our kids. And it may not show up right now. And I was talking to one of our students last night. We had a really fun event, and we were talking about, she is a phenomenal leader in our church, and she's 15. She's kind of like 35 in a 15-year-old body. She's just really one of the most deep thinkers that I know. And one of the things we talked about, she's in a leadership position, and I was talking about, to her, I'm like, well, what does leadership mean to you? And she's like, I just really want to influence these around us to come to know the Lord, and make different choices. And I remember telling her last night, I'm like, to understand that leadership is influence. And that means that you've got to realize that people are watching you all the time. And that doesn't mean to put pressure on you, but so often you got to realize you're only in charge of the influence, not the influencee. And you don't know if by the choices that you're making today, that you really are making a difference or planting a seed, that there's another way to handle a situation, or another way to serve, or another way to live your life. You don't know if that is the first time that people around you are thinking that thought. And Sparkle Sisters, that's a lot of us, that we are thinking outside of the box, right? Because we're all about stepping out of the box, right? We're all stepping out of the box. And that is really what it is all about. And we talk about all the time, our sparkle. Let me grab this here. That for those that don't want to believe in us, and that are not being, women of their word, they're not following through, that we do just wipe their name off the board for that season, right? Doesn't mean that we don't love them, doesn't mean we don't pray for them, doesn't mean that we're writing them off, doesn't mean we don't believe in them. But for that season, in order for them to have the ability to operate at the best that they're capable of right now, and for us not to need them or to be mad at them, is we just wipe their name off the board, and we say, bless their little hearts, they're doing the best they can. And what do? We squirt ourselves with glitter, right? So everybody's got to have their glitter. And so what we were talking about last night is that we become the leaders and or influencers we are based on what people do in our life. And because it was Father's Day this morning, I woke up and I'm like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to talk about today? And I'm going to see who is all on here with us as I'm talking and checking all of this at the same time. How many of y'all know how hard this is for me with my with my dyslexia? Okay, good. Here we go. So there is that. Let's see who's on here. Yay, Carrie and Alicia. Yay, Stephanie and Susan and Rebecca. You were the first one on today. So that's super exciting. Hey, if you'll put where you're from, that'll be awesome. I'm going to show you this picture. This is so fun. I wanted to show you as I talk about my sweet daddy. So this is my daddy right here, and this is me and Donna, and that's whenever I first got started, in my business, and Donna had just gotten started, and then this is me and my dad here, and this was whenever I was at Keesler. I know Marcy's excited about that. Whenever I graduated from tech school, my little red rope, and that's mom and dad there, and then this is my mom and dad right here, and this is whenever Daddy had come back from Turkey, and Mama here, and my sister. And he was really ornery. My daddy was really, really ornery. And so this is my mom, and in the kitchen I grew up in. And then just picturing mom and dad just snuggling up on the couch. And, so I just wanted to kind of share with you, again, a lot of you all, and I do want to say this, a lot of you all did not have a father figure at all, or you had one that taught you how not to live, right? And so as I share these stories, is that we have the ability at any time to change our generations, change our legacies based on the choices that we make today. And so whenever I share about our family, I don't tell you about the times that were hard. I'm not going to talk about the times that everybody was doing the best that they could, but it wasn't really great. And I'm not going to talk about that. What I want to talk about are the choices that people make that can positively impact. I think we can all make a list of things that people have wronged us. But what if, Sparkle Sisters, what if we chose to look at the people in our life and to find out what did we learn that made us better? What was something they did? So let me get going here. I'm glad y'all like this. Also put where you're from, because we are definitely nationwide today. So Oh my gosh. So here we go. So that is awesome. Well, not nationwide, we're global here because I can't read the names on there. So there we go. So let us know where you're at. All right. So the lessons I learned from my dad, his name's Howard Johnson. So y'all know there's a whole hotel chain. So everywhere we went, guess where we stayed, right? We either stayed in the camper, right? Or we stayed at Howard Johnson because my daddy he loved to laugh. My dad loved to laugh, loved to laugh. And he loved, Donna and I were talking about this today. He loved being in our Mary Kay world because we are happy, right? We're happy. We celebrate. We laugh all the time. I mean, like, literally, I probably learned how to explode into a pile of glitter just watching him. Now, also keep in mind, I want to talk to you about changing legacies, and everything that I've heard and read is it takes 4 generations to break a generational curse. Now, I'm talking spiritually on that, but I'm also talking financially, emotionally, but to truly change generations, it takes 4. So mine and Donna's grandpa was born in Wynne, Arkansas. So I don't know if we got any Arkansas people. He was a sharecropper. That means that him and grandma were so poor that they didn't even own the land that they farmed on. And so my dad was born in a tent. So that's where they started. They moved to Memphis because one of daddy's siblings was really, really sick. And so that's how my family ended up in Memphis. So let me know if there's any Memphis people in there. And so daddy was there in Memphis, and him and my mom, just to let y'all know, my mom was 16, and they might have been drinking, and there was a bet that they would get married, and they ran off and got married in Hernando, Mississippi, and they were married for 54 years until mama passed. And one of the things that my parents taught me, and I will tell you that there were years that it was not good. Right? They had seasons like, Tom and I've been married, 42 years. And so there are seasons that it is not pretty, but you just tie a knot and hold on. But one of the things that my mom and dad taught me, and it was this life goal that has really helped, I think, Tom and I, is that when mama was really sick in her last couple of months, she had lung cancer. She was getting surgery, and she was she had rheumatoid arthritis really bad. Her little hands were real, were not good. But daddy took such good care of her. And whenever she was in the hospital for the extra couple of days, the nurses, I have to tell y'all, this is the coolest thing ever. And this is such a great goal for you in your marriage. Y'all that aren't married, right? Find a man that loves the Lord and then loves you, and then, build on this. But when me or Donna would walk in the room, you could hear mama's heart rate go up because she was excited to see us girls. And, mom and dad were very clear. Mama always told us, I love you girls, but you got to understand, your dad is number one, right? Because y'all are going to be out of here and it is us. So Donna and I always knew we were in the second position. Daddy told us the same thing. I love you girls, but your mama is the woman I married and the woman that I will die with, right? So we were just kind of passing through their marriage. So I believe that had a lot to do with the passion and the fun in their marriage, because it kept Donna and I with some boundaries. And so, but when daddy would walk in the room, when mama was in the hospital, even the nurses would be like, come watch this, come watch this. And mama's heart rate would go up so fast. And she'd put her little hand up, to hold his hand, that they would have to be, Miss Gail, you have to calm down, or else we're going to have to ask him to leave. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to have a love affair with my husband. That my heart beats so fast whenever he walks in the room. This is after 50 years of marriage. And so you just think about that. And but that's the thing, is that mama wasn't thinking about the seasons when all the crazy things that were going on when they were young and dumb. Whenever daddy was gone, a lot of their marriage, because he was in the military, whenever instead of moving her to Florida, he moved her to Crump, Tennessee, like she wasn't thinking about those things. She was thinking about the man that he was, and how safe she felt with him. And so my challenge to y'all, how many of y'all love this story? Oh my gosh, right? I love this story here. All right, so that was the number one, is how to show true love. Number two was how to show respect and honor. Respect and honor a people, no matter the color, no matter the economic situation, no matter what they believe, or they're not a believer, or whatever that is. It doesn't matter. Male, female, it doesn't matter. Like, just how to show honor. And I learned that truly from my dad. And that was part of the reason why I joined the military, is I love being around people that speak a different language and worship different and look different and different skin tones and all that. And I was raised that way. Like I was raised to find connections, to find out about people, right? Because they were different didn't make them wrong. They were just different. And that was intriguing to us. Like we were raised to be so curious about people and creating a place where people never felt judged, right? So I was immersed in that. And that's one of the things I pray that I'll be able to open up your hearts and minds, so that you do that. So you teach your kids, teach your grandkids. Again, we can change the world. I know it sounds silly, but I'm telling you, Sparkle Sisters, we can change the world like this. But I remember on Christmas Eve, Daddy, whenever he retired from the military, he used the GI Bill and went to school there at Crump, at the technical school there, and he started his own business. And I remember it was Christmas Eve, and he got a call, and it was this old couple. And back then, there was this little thing that it rocked her, like her chair or something, and it kept her alive, but their electric wasn't working. So daddy said, he called me Dee Dee. He's like, Dee Dee, come on, let's run in the truck. So we put our whole Christmas off because daddy wanted to go and help take care of this couple. And I remember daddy working, and of course I was always right by his side. We were, working on that. And then whenever we went to leave, there was a lesson that was so huge. And this couple, they handed daddy these jars of green beans. It was the only way that they could pay him. And they had no money. And my dad was like, oh my gosh, thank you all so much. This is exactly what we were missing for our dinner tomorrow. How thoughtful of you. This is a great payment. And they just bowed up, y'all, and they felt so good and honored, right? Daddy wasn't doing it to help them or to show pity, right? They were able to pay. And I remember getting in the truck and I'm like, Daddy, I don't understand. Mom's got 100 jars of green beans because we had our own garden. And he's like, correct, but they gave all they could. And I will tell you that shifted me for my whole life, that even if I had what somebody was offering, I wanted to honor them. Okay. So look for situations where if somebody's giving you something you already have, or they're telling you something that they already know, thank them for that. Don't say, oh, I already got that. I don't need that, right? You're just slamming the doors in their face. And so again, showing honor. Then the other thing that I loved on this too, is my dad showed me how to love this country. Now, I love the United States. Y'all know I served 8 years. Tom, my hubby, served 12 years. My sisters were medically retired from the Army. Daddy retired. Like, we love this country. We also know there's some issues. But what I love about this country is that we can have issues and we don't go to jail, right? So I do love that. So, but one of the things that my dad would do, now, just so you know, I'm self-employed, so I'm taking every tax deduction I can. But Dad, every year, whenever it was time for him to pay taxes, right, whenever he would do that, my daddy always wrote an extra $100 to the government in gratitude of the opportunity to take a life from living in a tent to moving into the middle class, and that his schooling was paid for. What a thought. Y'all type been? I'm looking on here. Like, what a thought that you would feel so grateful to a country. And that I know is different in our world of entitlement. Give me, give me, give me, give me more, right? My dad taught me to be grateful for that. And so that was a big thing. Another lesson I learned from my sweet daddy was to never quit. My dad just had the tenacity of a daggone bulldog, like a bulldog or like a pit bull just grabs onto something and they are not letting go. And I can remember mom and I, because we lived in like this little 900 square foot block home outside of Crump, Tennessee. Thank you very much. And so we moved from Tucson there. We were supposed to go to Florida. Daddy decided he wanted to fish on the Tennessee River. So that's where we grew up, where I grew up. And so, but Daddy could fix anything. And he would be out there with this little lawnmower because he'd never buy anything new. How many of y'all are like that? Like never buy anything new. My husband and I, if you ask for a screwdriver at our house, we're pulling out the vodka and orange juice. Like we can't even hardly change out a light bulb here. But my dad was different. So Daddy would sit out there and he'd pull on that lawnmower, and I'm talking for like an hour. And my mom would be like, I'm telling you right now, I'd put a lighter to that thing. And I would light that thing on fire and go buy a new one. But I just watched him. I mean, he was just so persistent. Like once he set his mind on something, I don't care how long it took. I don't care how many tweaks it took, because it was the sense of achievement of winning. It was winning getting that lawnmower to work. And so again, Donna's on here, Donna Johnson Brewington, there you go. So she's listening to this today. So that was one of the things that I loved. The other thing was how to create memories. One of the things that we talk about in our family, like when we want to go do something and somebody doesn't want to do it, and we're like, oh, but what about the memories? And so I grew up with a camera in front of my face long before social media. My dad took my picture like every morning I would get up, and this is a good thing to do for your children. He would tell me how smart I was and how cute I was. And sometimes I was so cute, he'd take my picture. So I was like the forerunner of a narcissist. So when my husband and I got married, Daddy said, well, Tom, I'm really sorry that I have raised the bar of how much affirmation Diana needs, right? So it's not healthy, but that's kind of where we were at. But I remember, when Dad would come in, he would come in, he would serve in Johnston Island and all of that. And he would come in for just short amount of times, but we would always be camping. We would be fishing. We would, like, mine and Donna's memories of that family time together was such a big deal. Building, Daddy and I, when we moved to the farm, like we would build barns and we would build fences, and we'd be sitting on the porch and Daddy would say, I really like that fence line, and Mom would be like, ugh. So we'd be out there with those post holes. So like, I mean, I learned my work ethic because like we did post holes like this, digging them out ourselves. We raised animals. That means they had to be fed every day. Didn't matter if you didn't feel like it. If you were sick, you still had to go feed the animals. You still had to do those things. And so those are the things, like the memories that you're creating with your family. You don't have to go and do and be, but what are you doing to create memories? The other thing that my dad taught me really was how to raise an alpha female. And, we live in a world now where there's really not a lot of pushback, right? Because that's not where we're at. So, for all of you all that are women that are committed to raising alpha males, I pray for you. And trying to raise a strong female. Daddy and I, and I'm going to talk about roots and wings in just a minute. But one of the things that he always did, like whenever I would go on a date, and I didn't date a lot, but I mean, I dated like the same guy for a long time. I got married at 18, so there was not a lot of dating in there. But what he would do is he'd say, hey, come help me move this like refrigerator. And I would pick up half the refrigerator and help Daddy move it. I'm so naive. I'm not really realizing what he's doing, but basically if they misbehaved, like I really knew how to take care of myself. And I always thought that was so funny. I'm like, Daddy, I just got my hair right. He's like, okay, just come out here really quick and then kind of help with that. And we'd haul hay, we do all of those kinds of things like that. But what he did though, and this is what I wanted to talk about, and I think there's a fine line, and that is to raise a strong woman that is respectful to men. I was always taught if a man opens up the door for me, right, to be able to say, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. How thoughtful of you." Especially like if they're a person like that. And like if, and even now, like, I mean, if somebody shuts a door in my face, like I'm going to say something, I'm like, that's so rude, right? I'm old. I'm a grandma. But like when but to allow a man, Tom and I were going out to lunch the other day, just I don't know, because we're both here at the house, we just decided we go out to lunch, and he always opens up the door for me. And it was so funny. He opened up the door, and this gentleman just right next to us, he was like, wow, that is a lost art. And Tom's like, I don't know anything different. See, I always saw my dad open up the door for my mom, for me and my sister, always did that. So I would expect that. That means as a charge ahead alpha female that I am, that means when I get to the door, I need to stop, not hit the door myself. Ah! Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if we have to give men an opportunity to be a man and to be thoughtful with that. I teach that at church all the time. Yes, you can pick that up, but if a man is going to help you, let them help you. Right. And so I just think that we've got to allow people to serve you. Like, but maybe somebody, it could be even another female that wants to help you. Allow them to do that. Yes, you can do it by yourself. But what you're saying to them is that you're unimportant, you're insignificant. And then what happens is people get that so often, then they're like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. Right. Good. Sonia Sutton. Yes, we're praying for your family in New Mexico, raising kids to take responsibility. We have animals. We work at our house. Right. So find something that they can do. All right. I'm getting ready to be done here. The other thing is how to be an eternal optimist. My sister and I, Donna and I, were talking about today, like, you know what rings in our ears is, you can do that, babe. Like anything, like our parents gave us roots and wings. Roots was mama was there whenever I was raised. Now she worked when Donna, when we lived in Tucson, but when mom and daddy moved to the farm, their commitment was mama would, like work during the day. She was a cook, a phenomenal cook. But every afternoon, my mom was there. I took the bus home, and because I went to school a little bit further out. But every day I knew I could go home and I could regurgitate my day, and that there was just this safe place, right? There was this roots that no matter how bad school was, or no matter how mean those rich girls were, whatever that was, that I was dealing with as a crazy, 17, 16, 15, 16, 17-year-old girl, that I could have this safe place. That's why whenever I joined the military, I didn't want to have kids. But whenever we did decide to have Samantha, I knew I had to be home. I call them the golden hours. It's that really, it's only like 5 minutes because kids come in, tell you, and then they want to ignore you. But it's really that afternoon. What daddy gave us was wings. And literally, Donna and I could say, we're going to go to Mars. And you'd be like, you can do that, babe. So like we could try crazy things. I was talking about whenever I went skydiving, and Donna, went to Korea and then in the army, and like I went to Saudi Arabia whenever I was in the military, and like we were fearless. I remember the first night I was in Saudi, they're like, we're going to ride dune buggies and four-wheelers. You want to go? I'm like, sure. And I remember going out, and then the next morning I woke up in this tent with like 50 people, like, because do you know what I'm saying? And like we were just fearless because we knew daddy always believed in us, and mama gave us a safe place to land. Y'all follow what I'm saying? Are we doing that for our children, or are we hover mothers? Right? There's other mothers, you're never there. There's other mothers, and then there's good mothers. And that's the ones who tell you can go do that. And then you kind of work through that. Donna also mentioned this today too, is that daddy taught us how to live with integrity. He did what he said he was going to do. I don't care whatever it was. He didn't promise much, but which I have a good lesson. I need to learn that. But whatever it is he said he was going to do, that is what he did. And then I just wanted to share this with you really quick. Let me grab this real quick. So I believe that when you get clear in how you want to change your legacy, I wrote this note to Tom this year for Father's Day. And the thing whenever I write this, there were seeds of this when we decided eating Chinese food. Isn't that funny? That we would go get married. And the next day we went to the Justice of the Peace. Sounds familiar, right? Got married for $25. We both went back to work. And so I guess, you kind of do whatever it is that you see. But whenever this letter that I wrote to Tom, my wish for every single one of you is that who you choose to be with would have these qualities and so much more. But I believe that you have to speak these into existence. It doesn't mean that Tom doesn't have issues or that I don't have issues, but we've made a decision to only talk about, think about, affirm what we want more of. And then what happens is that becomes who we are. And so I just said, I wanted to let you know that you are the best father on the planet. Because of your moral compass, your integrity, your sense of humor, your acceptance, your loyalty, your consistency, your unconditional love, your strength, and your kindness. All girls love their father, but it's a rare situation when they get to respect and trust the man the Lord chose to be their father. Such a blessing watching you so fiercely love the girls through every celebration, every storm, their life choices, whether you agree with them or not. They are more lucky than they can imagine. And for each one of us, I pray that that we are this to someone and that we choose to partner with someone who is becoming this, because this is how we change legacies together. You all, Sparkle Sisters, I love you so much. Thank you for sharing this. I did just do the $100 donation because we went over 600 people on our group. And thank you for y'all that are also sharing the YouTube channel. That's growing over there too. So appreciate that. And so for you this week, what lesson do you want your life to give the future generation? I believe it will be extraordinary because together we're too blessed to be stressed, too anointed to be disappointed, too equipped to be whipped. Have a miracle-filled week. Next week, Miranda Reigns is going to be here, and she is going to show you how to put your best face, body forward. It is all about fashion. Okay. Love y'all. Bye-bye.